How many of you have seen that notice? Oh. Well, please look up the notice. It says that every assembly henceforth will have a 3-minute address by a junior member, one of you. And you will speak immediately before me on what I said the previous day or previous days, depending on how you are disposed. The idea is to put up your speech also as part of the internet posts that we do, so that the people outside get a flavor of what the students of St. Stephen's College are capable of, right? So please volunteer, and the person who will coordinate this work is Mr. Renish Abraham, and you can work out your turn with him, and I encourage all of you to make good use of this opportunity. Again, a reminder, the last reminder of its kind. From Monday onwards, the assembly begins at 9 o'clock. Thank you. All right, now let's resume our conversation. We've already looked at 2 things we may ask for, purely optional. And they were, 1, humility. 2nd, yesterday's. It's only when you really grow very old that your short-term memory gets wiped out. You can remember day before yesterday, but you can't remember yesterday. How come? Are all of you studying English literature? No. I mean, students of English literature sometimes, lose their memory power because they're always in a sublime land. All right. Yesterday we were talking about the need to have a clear sense of one's own worth, right? Self-worth. Why? Because if you do not know your own worth, true worth, then you will not take care of yourself. And a person who doesn't take care of himself or herself is unlikely to be a good student. In order to study well, you have to take good care of yourself. And you will never take care of yourself if you don't value yourself. To value yourself, you must know your true worth. And the true worth is not a matter of what you are today, but what you can well be in course of time. And that's the excitement in the life of a good student. Is that clear? Today, based on that, we take the next step forward. You must see a connection between all that we say, or think, or receive, right? So, today the theme is, we may ask for, and you must remove all your prejudices from your mind, otherwise you will not listen to me. I'm going to introduce a topic which is not very popular, but you will understand the significance of it by the time we finish, right? We must, or we may also ask for purity in our being. Purity, right? Now, I know that many of you think that it is only a religious concern, right? Purity. That's not the case at all. Now that's what I'm going to explain to you, all right? Now, what is the connection between yesterday's thought and today's thought? Yesterday it was self-worth, today it's purity. What's the connection? Purity is the secret of worth. Has it occurred to you? For example, you make the most fragrant cup of tea, right? And you're going to offer it to your friend. And in the process of offering, while you were offering, an insect fell into it. Its worth is completely gone. What happened? The same tea. Its purity is compromised, right? You had a wonderful friend whom you trusted with your eyes closed, right? And one day you found that that friend of yours had introduced an element of falsehood into your relationship. What happened? The relationship lost all its worth, right? Now, iron ore is taken and purified so that it has much greater worth. The same with all metals, including gold, right? So the first principle is that purity is the measure of worth. Gold 916 is cheaper than gold 999, 24 carat, right? 22 carats and 24 carats. So what is the difference between 24 carats and 22 carats? It is not that 24 carats is more vegetarian carat. Huh? Is that the point? No, it is purer. So one principle you must register very clearly in your mind, and that is my worth depends on the purity of my being. Now, for example, that goes for the language that you speak. It doesn't matter whether you speak English or Hindi or French or Sanskrit. What matters is whether your use of the language is pure. That's a test of the quality of your being. You understand? Now, if you speak language in a careless, clumsy, awkward manner, even if you speak the best and the most popular language in the world, it has no worth. Okay? So we must try and retain the purity of things, but the most important thing is to maintain, to take care of, to take good care of our own purity. Okay, clear? Now, I'm going to share with you some thoughts on the various aspects of this purity. First of all, academic purity. That's what concerns us most, right? We're not an assembly of religious people, or this is not an institution devoted to the teaching of religions, right? We're an academic community. So what does purity mean in the academic sense? All right? That's what I'm going to explain to you. Now listen very carefully. Now purity means being free from the contrary principles, pulls and pressures. Can you remember this? What is purity? Being free from, being insulated from, being unaffected by contrary principles, principles that go against, contrary principles, pressures and pulls, right? In other words, distractions, right? Intellectual purity, therefore, is the ability to concentrate. As against this, while you sit and listen, you mean well and you begin well, and in 10 minutes' time, your mind is wandering all over the place. And wandering over things that are of no consequence. Simply because you've not cultivated, you've not been careful to take care of your intellectual academic purity. And this is the reason why, as I said some time ago, the capacity to listen, to register what is being said is very poorly developed. Even the best of listeners retains less than 35% of what is being said. Okay? Now it is possible steadily to improve on it from 35% to 37%, 40%, 50%, 60%, maybe 100%. I had a friend of mine who was a professor of philosophy from a university in Germany, University of Essen. His name was Professor Victorio Husler. He would take up a book and read, close it. And you can ask him to name the page on which a particular idea occurred. And he will do it without fail. I used to be astonished. Absolutely astonished. He could lecture in 7 European languages. Now it's possible to improve our concentration. And that is the key factor in being an outstanding student. So there is a case for minding and maintaining our academic and intellectual purity. Okay? Now, in other words, do not allow distractions to overtake you. Stay focused on the task or the purpose that brought you to St. Stephen's College. We live in a world of escalating distractions, ever multiplying distractions. And my generation, in a sense, was luckier because we did not have even half or 10% of these distractions. And living as you do in this age of escalating, intensifying, proliferating distractions, it's all the more important for you to mind and to preserve your intellectual purity. You understand? That's why I repeatedly say that if you allow your inner life, your thinking life, your mental space to be invaded by all kinds of things in the world, especially anti-life, self-degrading things with which people today fall in love. Unfortunately, internet is a fertile field for all these things. It has also good things to offer. Please take care of your intellectual and academic purity. Do not squander that immense wealth of being able to focus on the task at hand and to pursue something over time until you deliver something excellent. Now, in my life as an author, what happens is the beginning of a book will be in the form of a very small insight which somehow comes seeking after you. It's not that I go looking for them, but something comes and falls into the soil of my soul. And I know that something has happened. And for the next 2 years, 3 years, I will be singularly focused on that. All my reading, all my reflections will be on that one thing. As a result, this small little seed will sprout and will burst into a big tree. And in good season, it produces fruits, and that's called a book. On the other hand, if I allow myself to be distracted, the seed that has fallen there will just die away. Nothing will happen. This is possible for everyone. If you develop the strength of inner purity, take care of yourself, the miracle that you hold today within yourself only as a vaguely intuited possibility will become one of the most powerful felt realities of your life. Your life will be transformed and you will radiate happiness. And you cannot be intimidated by the forces of the world. There's always a relationship between your inner strength and the menace of the world outside. If you're weak inside and hollow inside, even a small little fellow outside can intimidate you and you will just collapse. If your life within is bubbling and it's overflowing with enthusiasm, with happiness, and you experience that incredible inner strength, the storms and turbulences of the world cannot even touch you. And that's the strength of purity. Okay? I don't have the rhetorical powers to convince you on this point by being clearer than this. You can only leave it to your own reflection. For example, every time you have compromised your inner purity, you have felt miserable. Am I right? Every time you have resisted the temptation to compromise your inner purity, you have felt stronger and happier. This is the experiential truth. Am I right? Am I right? Of course I am. That alone should prove the verity, the truth of what I am saying. The second aspect of purity is purity in relationships. And purity in relationships is called fidelity or faithfulness, right? What is impurity in relationships? You are allowing something that distracts, that disturbs the authenticity of this relationship. It can be anything. Anything from a casually uttered falsehood to physical infidelity. It can be anything. But the principle is the same thing, namely, you have allowed a contrary principles to invade the sacred sanctuary of a relationship and compromise the purity of the relationship, right? And it is tantamount to death. A relationship dies when its purity is compromised. And that is the life principle, which I shall very briefly explain perhaps. That's all I'll have time for this morning. I've now introduced a very important general principle, which is that purity is the life principle. Can you remember this? Purity is the foundation on which the super edifice of life is built. Right? Just as this hall has a foundation on which the super edifice rests, the super edifice of life stands on or rests on the foundation of purity. For example, blood circulation is basic to the continuation of life. We all know this, right? Okay. What's the function of blood? The blood keeps the whole body pure. Blood is an agent of purity. Blood is our physical Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. You understand? And you can imagine your blood cells running all over the place with brooms and grooms, and cleaning up everything. Okay? And then whatever is impure comes out. It's a wonderful thing. It's a great mystery that's happening. Do you know how much blood your heart pumps a day? Each time your heart contracts, 300 milliliter of blood is pumped out. And suppose your heart pumps 72 times a minute. How much blood is pumped a day? Your heart is the only organ in your body that does not sleep. It's one of the greatest miracles in life. Your heart, like New York City, never sleeps. Now, where are the math students? I'm giving you a little maths question. If your heart pumps at the rate of 300 ml per contraction and it contracts 72 times per minute, what is the total quantity of blood pumped by the heart if you live for 70 years? Very simple. Does anyone know? Pardon? Your heart is not pumping? How much? 3,000. No, it's actually 125,000 liters. That's the amount of work your heart does. You know this? Your heart pumps 125,000 liters of blood. And what is the normal capacity, the power of the heart? Your heart is a pump. It is 0.01 horsepower. But your heart is the only pump known in human history which can increase its pumping power from 0.01 horsepower to 0.5 horsepower. That's a flexibility. But that's not my main theme today. My theme is this. That if the blood flow stops, life comes to a stop because purity is compromised. Second principle. Blood, which is the agent of purification, all right? Blood, which is the river of purity. The blood is the internal Ganga, right? Understand? Water, blood is to the human body what water is to the external body. Now, this agent of purity called blood must itself be pure. So, there are organs to maintain the purity of blood, right? Like the kidney. When the kidney does not function properly, the impurity or impurities in the blood increase. As a result, life is seriously threatened. So at multiple levels, life is structured on purity. This is something we don't understand. And it is because of this that in St. Stephen's College, we insist that every student must participate in healthy outdoor activities, because participating in such activities helps to maintain the purity of your body. And the purity of your body facilitates the purity of your mind. There is a connection between the two. That's why the old dictum goes, a sound mind in a sound body. Or is it the other way around? A sound body in a sound mind? Huh? No. A sound mind in a sound body. Now sound means what? Dark. That one? No. Sound means healthy, robust, right? Sound. So, at all levels, the truth is the same. But there is something called cultural purity. Now, this, of course, is a very controversial thing, right? When I say cultural purity, I don't mean that we have to be completely shut to anything else. Gandhiji said, let 100, 1,000 windows open, no problem. But he said at the same time, take root in your culture. Do not allow yourself to be swept away by that tsunamis. Culture is always, particularly Western culture. Modern Western culture, because it is armed to the teeth by technology, is extremely invasive. It is actually cultural imperialism. And we are quite happy to allow ourselves to be swept away by this man-made tsunami. All tsunamis are man-made, that's another story. Now, this is not helpful at all, because we are neither Americans nor Indians now. If you were to have an identity, what will you do? I'm not against what is good in other cultures, but I want to be an Indian. I'm convinced there are good things in my culture. Why am I today not free to acknowledge and to celebrate what is good in my culture? For example, relationships are sacred in my culture. Family is an inviolable thing in my culture. Certain values are not negotiable in my culture. Satyameva Jayade. Right? But today, it is exactly the opposite. Falsehood. What is the Hindi word for falsehood? Huh? Jhoot. Jhoot hi jayade. So that is the new national motto. Jhoot hi jayade. I mean, it's pathetic. Now, from where have you got this? This is not your culture at all. Hospitality, Aditi Devo power. Now it is Aditi Devo fire. अब क्या बात हो रहा है? मुझे थोड़ा सा शर्म आता है. सिर्फ हिंदी में ही मुझे शर्म आता है. अच्छा, so please understand there is a problem. Okay, we are very quick to compromise our cultural purity. No other nation really. You can't go and compromise American culture. I still remember the statement of President George Bush in the World Climate Conference, Environment Conference or something, in Rio de Janeiro, 2002. You know what he said? When America was required to come under the climate change regime and therefore to adjust itself to certain norms, President Bush settled the debate in one sentence, and I still remember the sentence. He said, the American way is not up for negotiation. Remember this. The American way of life is not up for negotiation. Our way of life is up for negotiation. Come, trample on us, walk on our head, no problem, we are grateful. That's our problem. No, preserve your purity. And only when you preserve your purity, you will know how to relate with dignity, creativity, and self-respect to all that is good and beautiful in all of the cultures that you may come across. I have to be someone before I can accept what is good from others. Let's rise for prayers.